Hey guys, welcome back to another segment of It's Getting Real, a place where we explore the stories behind tragic crimes. I'm already getting emotional and I haven't even started talking about this thing yet. I'm Tisha, and today we're diving into a story that not only broke my heart but pissed me off. A story that shows how quickly ordinary life can turn into tragedy and how this was anything but a perfect neighbor. Now, I almost did not watch this documentary because I knew that it was going to be heavy and I didn't know who was going to be hurt, but I knew it was going to be bad. All I knew going into it is that I did not want to see another person that was snuffed out by hate. The only reason why I actually watched the entirety of it is because it's what AJ's mother and family wanted. So understand that this is your trigger warning. I will not be showing clips, but I will be playing the audio of some of what we heard on the documentary. This subject is rough. And what makes it even harder is that it continues to happen at a rate that I quite can't understand. It is why sometimes I find myself biting my tongue when I am frustrated or angry with situations that arise in front of me. It is why certain conversations have to be had with our children. This is about the death of a young mother, a death that shouldn't have happened. Now, Ajaka AJ Owens, I'm going to call her AJ from here on out because I do not want to butcher her name, is someone that should still be here. This thing touches on violence and racism and hate and loss. At what point does making a bunch of unnecessary police calls result in some type of action towards the people who keep wasting officials' time? At what point are people truly punished for the harm that they inflict on others? Please take care of yourself while listening to this. Now, the Netflix documentary, The Perfect Neighbor, gives a view that, in my opinion, we don't often see when it comes to documentaries. It doesn't use actors or dramatic reenactments. There is no narrator that is leading you by the hand. Instead, the story unfolds through 2 years of body cam footage, 911 calls, and home surveillance clips. This is real and it's raw and it's unfiltered evidence of tragedy. Now, this Perfect Neighbor documentary tells the story of Ajaka AJ Owens. She, at the time, was a 35-year-old mother of four from Ocala. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Ocala, Florida. She was shot and killed by her neighbor. I'm acting like I did not put any images up of this thing. This is what I'm talking about here. Now, this is the young lady that we are talking about. This is AJ. She is the one who is no longer here. She was shot and killed by this 58-year-old bitter woman by the name of Suzanne. Let me go ahead and show y'all Suzanne. Here she go. Let's make her big. This is Suzanne. Suzanne is the one who unalived this woman. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, what's hunting about this thing to me is the fact that I'm not really sure if it could have been avoided. I don't know. I'd like to think that it could. But with a woman like Suzanne living in your community, I just don't know. In my opinion, she was waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I gotta calm down because I'm getting tongue tied and I haven't even gotten to it yet. This could have been any one of us. This could have been me. This could have been you. This happened in a friendly neighborhood where kids were just being kids. Now, Netflix describes this documentary as an unflinching look at how fear and prejudice can destroy communities. And honestly, to me, this wasn't about fear. It wasn't about fear. This is a story of how one woman's hate destroyed a family and devastated a community. You do not watch The Perfect Neighbor for entertainment. You watch it to understand that whether people would like to admit it or not, there are people who still are very archaic in their thought. There are people who take joy in hurting others. There are people who dislike others just because of the color of their skin. Be clear, I am saying this has to do with race because, in my opinion, it does. I'm not going to allege that this is a racial thing. I am saying that it has to do with race with my chest because the comments that came out of this lady's mouth, out of Suzanne's mouth, very much so prove it. If you're calling people the N word and making references to slavery, you're a racist. Now, the director said that she wanted this documentary to honor AJ's legacy and transform grief into purpose. So, we're going to start by making sure that we don't just talk about the shooter, but we talk about AJ. So, let's go ahead and start there. Now, AJ Chantrell Owens was born on January 13th, 1988 in Broward County, Florida. I may be pronouncing that wrong as well. Broward. She was a mother of four beautiful children: Isaac, Africa, Titus, and Israel. At the time that she was unalived, her children ranged from ages 3 to 12. She was known for her smile, for her strength, and for the way she lit up every space that she entered. Friends describe AJ as the mom who did it all. She was a manager at McDonald's. She worked hard. She showed up for her kids. She made sure that they felt loved and seen. She was a teen mom at her kids' sporting events. She was the woman who cooked big family meals. She was the one who encouraged everyone to keep pushing, even when life got hard. So you see, AJ isn't a headline and she isn't a statistic. She could have been you. She could have been me. She was a daughter, a sister, and a friend. Her mom, Pamela Diaz, said in interviews that AJ was a fighter, not just for herself, but for her children. And what it happens to be is that she ended up fighting for her kids until the end. Now, she wanted them to grow up in a safe environment, allowing them to believe that they could be anything. So, when we talk about this documentary, let's remember who she was because I'm seeing a lot out there about Suzanne, but we have to remember AJ. Now, let's get into what happened. AJ and her children lived in this neighborhood that you see pictured here in Florida. From what I can tell, it seems like this is a neighborhood that is full of families that have children. This is a place where you pull up and the kids are outside. They're playing with each other. Everyone gets along. It's a very much so a village. All of the neighbors are familiar with each other. There's this grassy area where the kids can play football and kickball and hang out. It very much so gives that old school community feel that we don't often see anymore. So from the footage, I see multiple ethnicities enjoying each other's company in this community. That's everybody but one person. And y'all already know who that person is because I already talked about her, Suzanne. Now, Suzanne is said to be a Caucasian woman that also rented in the neighborhood. She moved there after everyone else. And the moment that she moved into the community, there were problems. She is the lady that complained for months, might as well say years, about the children in the neighborhood, calling the cops for every little thing, saying that the kids were trespassing in this area that was near her house, areas that she tried to tell them that they couldn't play in, where the true owner didn't have a problem with it. She claimed that they left trash in her yard and made too much noise and touched her car and hit the ball with her car and walked by her truck and tried to take her truck and put a dog in the truck. Like there were all these false reports with no types of consequences for this lady making them. Now, neighbors, various ones say that she constantly picked with the kids, calling them jackasses and little itches and flipping them off and referring to them as the N word, calling them the R word, calling them the P word. She was recording the children and taking pictures of them and calling the kids slaves and telling the kids that the field that they're on isn't the Underground Railroad. This has been said by neighbors in the community. At some point, days before the event happened, she was even reported to have flashed her weapon at children. Now, that alone should have been reported, but I don't know if the kids told their parents before or after she decided to utilize that weapon. There were instances where the neighbors said that she purposely set off the alarm on her truck every few minutes while the kids were outside playing to act as if the kids brushed up against her car when the kids were nowhere near it. She was a menace to the point where the kids and the adults referred to the lady as a Karen. Now, we all have heard the term Karen and what it means. I personally don't like to use it, but this is what we're saying for the purposes of this film. Now, her need to always mess with the kids created various instances where she was confronted by the parents, and she couldn't handle the parents. You see, she had a bunch of mouth and a bunch of things to say for the kids, but when it came to the parents, she was scared. And if said parent would then respond to her, she definitely would make a call. So the documentary begins with another attempt to make a false report. It's February 25th, 2022, and Suzanne lies again, this time saying that AJ, who we find out prior to this, never had any type of confrontation with this lady, hit her with one of the trespassing signs that was in her yard. AJ and other adults are heard saying that she did not hit the lady with the sign. What she did was take that trespassing sign and fling it in the air. Multiple witnesses attest to it. She makes that report. The police can't do anything about it. There's no proof of it. Witnesses say it didn't happen. And of course, nothing happens to either party. Whenever police show up, she turns into this little damsel in distress until they say something that she does not like. And then she gets smart and she gets nasty with them. And even though she does this, she is given chance after chance after chance. She tells police in August of 2022 that she has the right to a peaceful property. That it's a law, that the kids shouldn't be screaming and running around. There's another shot in December of 2022 where she's complaining because she works from home and she's tired of the kids screaming and yelling. Another neighbor lets police know that the property that she keeps complaining about the kids being on isn't even hers. And she acts like a victim yet again. But she's seen yelling at the kids, and she's seen using an air horn, and she's seen in the neighborhood revving up her engine. So she does things to antagonize them, but she doesn't mention any of that. So the police tell her, like, look, We rather the kids be playing in this neighborhood than being out there committing crimes. The officers talk with the children, encourage them to continue playing, but not to antagonize this lady. If there's a problem, let your parents handle it. Sounds fair, right? Let the adults deal with the adults. Now, at one point on body cam footage, you hear an officer call her a psycho because she was known to make all of these calls. And understand that a lot of times when she makes the calls, they're not to the non emergency number, they're to the emergency number. Now, the cops see that she's a problem. They know that she's an agitator. They hear the undertones in what she's saying. When people like this exist, they, in my opinion, should be fined for every single time they waste taxpayers' dollars and the officers' time by having them come out for something so frivolous. I'm saying this, and you would think it's not that big of a deal, but the tension in that community when it comes to this woman never dies down. Now, in March of 2023, she is on someone else's private property and she ends up getting locked in for whatever reason. And she rams his gate multiple times rather than calling the number on it because the gate is locked and she damages his property. He makes a report, tells them who the lady is. Police head over to talk to her. They are knocking on the door, and she's like, "What? I'm coming," when she comes to the door. She finally opens the door and she asks the officers what they want. Since when are you allowed to talk to law enforcement like that? She's acting like she didn't do anything wrong. And she's choosing not to talk to them until the officer lets her know, like, okay, you don't got to talk to me. You invoked your right. You don't want to talk to me. Well, I'm going to make sure that I go back to that gentleman, let him know. We'll put you in a lineup if we have to, and he's going to press charges. And then all of a sudden, she wants to speak. She says, I'm sorry. I panicked. I'm sorry. I'm on medication. I'm sorry. I've been previously great. And I thought someone was going to harm me. And that's why I did what I did. I just had to get out of there. I just had to get out of there. Lies. Even if those things did happen to her, that's not an excuse for what you did or for you to initially lie to the officer and act like you didn't do anything that day. They don't take her in for that either. In May of 2023, she goes to a police station. Let me be clear. There are many times where my neighbors drive me nuts. The kids play outside right beside my window, even though there are multiple playgrounds in this division. Sometimes my neighbors are playing extra loud music as they wash their cars or as they host other people. And sometimes people aren't so neighborly, right? But I'm not calling the cops for that because they have more important things to do. And because unfortunately, when you're not in your own home, these are sometimes the risks that you take. So I don't feel bad for this lady. I understand that, yes, ideally speaking, if you know that this woman is a problem, I personally would tell my kids don't ever go playing anywhere near her house. But this is a community who had been using that area of land far before she moved in there. And they all seem to be having the same problem with this woman. So tensions get even thicker. And we jump to June 2nd, 2023, where, according to reports, AJ's children were outside playing when an argument broke out. On this particular night, the kids were playing in that same area that has been problematic. Now, one of AJ's sons left his tablet outside by her house. Susan took it, came out swinging her umbrella, and he asked to get it back. I'm going to play a little clip so you can see that I'm not making this up. Okay, I'm not going to put it on the screen, so I hope, let me turn up my volume all the way. I hope you guys can hear it. Here we go.
earlier, right? In his yard. And yes, ma'am. And one of the little kids, he left his iPad on the ground. And I guess the old white lady that shot the lady, she grabbed his iPad and she threw a roller skate at him. And he went, or she came out with an umbrella too and was trying to swing at him or some shit like that. Okay. And then, is that what you heard or is that what you saw? That's what I heard.
That's what he heard. So she threw this roller skate towards the young man who was asking for his tablet. He tells her, I'm going to get my mom. She, in the meantime, calls 911. This is what she says, because I want to make sure you could hear me. I was going to play the clip, but I'm going to make sure you can hear me. She says, we got kids trespassing, standing there, leaving toys around, just screaming, yelling, just being absolutely obnoxious. I went to throw the roller skates over to the other side. The kid says, I'm going to beat you up for that. There are several kids out there right now, and I'm fearing for my life. I'm very scared. The kid is saying I took his iPad and this other shady ish that isn't true. I don't like the kids threatening me that they'll beat me up, that they're going to get someone else to kill me. This is just ridiculous. They just keep badgering me, and I'm just sick of these children. Now that they're home from school, it's like craziness. I want y'all to keep that in mind because she called 911 to say all of this. I keep saying it and it sounds crazy that I'm saying it, but this is what she did. The lady called 911 to make this message be heard, to give her grievances, right? So they tell her, keep your doors locked, keep your windows locked. We're going to send an officer out for this. She then proceeds to say, the mom is going to tell the officer that I threatened her kid. Now, according to the kids and the other people in the neighborhood, Suzanne tells this person, the little boy, to go get your mom. As a reminder, officers told the kids, if you have a problem with Suzanne, get your parents. So her son does what any other little kid would do, which is get his mom. When AJ heard what happened, she did what most mothers would do. She was pissed and she walked her happy tail next door to confront the neighbor to demand an explanation. It's been months, years of her bothering the neighborhood children. It's been months of them fighting. So she knocks on the door, tells her to come outside. At least that's what we're told by the lady. Now, the neighbors say something different. We don't actually know what happened, but what we do know is that a shot was heard. Let's keep going with this gentleman's.
Let's just focus on what you saw. And the only thing I heard was her knocking on the door, pretty loud, right? And then on the door? The lady that got shot, right? She was knocking on the other lady's door. Yeah, like to see what went between the two kids, like. Wait, between her and the kids. Did you see anything or? You gotta talk to the kids. You gotta talk to the kids. You gotta talk to the little kid and the older one. Okay.
You have to talk to the kids because this happened in front of the kids. Let me keep going. So, according to Suzanne, she told AJ to go away. And she wasn't going away. And she just kept knocking on the door. So she says, I was looking for my phone and I put my phone down somewhere and I started panicking. I was searching for my phone and she just kept banging and saying, I'm going to kill you and I'm going to kill you. The door is locked and boom. The lady shot AJ through the closed door, hitting AJ in the chest. Now, she fell outside her neighbor's home in front of her children. One of her sons runs to the neighbor's home and is begging for someone to help his mother. It is seen on camera. And you can hear the shot through the camera. We hear the 911 call that Susan made, right? The call that we hear is the phone call after she had already previously called. So I read the first one to you and she calls again. And in that call, she initially sounds like she's scared and she's panicking and she claims that AJ tried to break down her door. She tried to break down my door. When did a hard knock, which I just played for you that the gentleman heard, turn into her trying to break down your door? Now, she felt like AJ was going to come bursting through her door. And because of that, she shot her. So 1 minute she's fake crying. Then the next, she's talking about how she told the kids to get out of there because they keep leaving the garbage. And she always has problems with this lady and her kids and blah, 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 blah. Next, we see the footage as the cops are notified of the situation. We see images of her lying on the ground. When they arrive, surrounded by neighbors that are trying to help her. We see the ambulance. We see and hear people telling her to stay awake. We hear about there being a faint pulse and all these other things. And the community is rallying behind those babies, hugging them and holding them and crying with them as they try to work on their mom. Now, at some point, when the kids are asked if they're okay, you hear one of her sons say that he just wants to know if his mom is moving. And another one saying that his heart is broken and he's blaming himself because he left his tablet. He did not know at this time that his mom was not going to make it. The officers end up contacting the kid's father. He arrives on scene. And the way that those babies ran to his truck, you could just tell that they really, really needed him in that moment. He was told what's happened. They pull him to the side to tell him that they need to get some information from him. But what they let him know is that the mom didn't make it. And he begins to sob as he's told that the mother of his children is no longer here. He doesn't even really get a chance to feel any of his feelings or deal with his emotions because he has to be there for his babies and he has to let his babies know what's going on. So we see him as a family friend is there with him and he's trying to gather himself together to let his kids know what happened. As he tells those babies that their mom didn't make it, the way that he is standing there as his babies collapse onto one another and he's just holding them up. Just broke my heart. It just broke my heart hearing their sobs because their lives are forever changed for something that didn't even have to be like this. Hearing the community tell those kids that they love them and how sorry they are, and seeing one lady sitting on the ground while she's holding her youngest child, and seeing others crying with those babies and the friends hugging each other, it had me in tears because it's all just so devastating. Children, when they're in a community like that, are supposed to have to worry about someone knocking on their door and them being unalived. Then we hear as AJ's mom is on the phone on speakerphone saying Jesus, as the father of her children, lets her mother know that her daughter is gone. It's just so devastating. So devastating. So the police come to her home with their guns drawn. They tell her to step out. They handcuff her and they let her know that she is not arrested. Instead, she's detained. This lady was treated like she did not shoot someone, like she hasn't been a nuisance for years. I've seen harsher treatment of people during a traffic violation. They treated her with so much care. If only we were all treated like that. Now, understand, I feel like whatever crime you committed, you should be treated with decency, even though I don't agree with any of it. I'm just making note of the fact that at no point was this lady treated poorly. At no point was she treated like she just unalived someone. They really, really protected that lady. They did. I'm just called like I saw it. They protected her. So she's detained. They ask her questions about what happened, and she claims self defense under Florida's stand your ground law. Now, in case you're unfamiliar with it, Florida's stand your ground law allows individuals to use deadly force to defend themselves without a duty to retreat when they reasonably believe it is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm. When she's told that the lady didn't make it, she tries her very best to act upset, but she's really not upset. And I really don't think that she's in shock because she has this tendency to hold her chest like, but yeah, because the way she switches up from supposedly being upset to speaking ill of AJ and her kids and oh, woe is me. Yeah, I just don't believe it. So the family is devastated and even more upset because this lady has killed AJ. And not only is she released, but officers drive her back home so that she can grab some of her belongings and tell her she should go to a hotel. Now, the family is pressuring law enforcement to file charges. They continue the investigation, and it takes them 4 days to arrest her. Um, and they do so based on the 911 call because, as I told you, originally she called complaining about the children and asking for cops to come out. And between the knock and her pow powing AJ, it was a 2 minute time difference. So it's determined that it's not self defense. Susan is arrested on June the 6th, 2023, and charged with manslaughter with a firearm, culpable negligence, battery, and 2 counts of assault. I do not feel like she got charged correctly. I was going to play some more stuff, but it's no need. Go watch the video and support the family. Um, During the interrogation, she claimed that she acted in fear for her safety, though investigators later determined that the events contradicted her statement. In August 2024, following a week long trial in Marion County Circuit Court, Susan was found guilty of manslaughter with a firearm and she was sentenced to 25 years in prison that November. When she was initially found guilty, she had no reaction, none. As a matter of fact, this was her face on the Netflix video when she was sentenced. When she was given her 25 years, it was different. There's an image of her laying flat down on the table as someone is rubbing her back. And I just don't feel like she deserves any type of comfort because who was there to comfort those kids when you decided to remove their mother from this earth? Now, in my opinion, justice doesn't always feel like closure because AJ's children still do not have their mother. Her community still carries the heartache, and her story still echoes through this documentary. This is her mom, and I believe that's her daughter right beside her mother. It's just it's sad. I encourage you. This is her son. This was when he was speaking at the funeral about his mom. The amount of strength that must have taken to do that. It's just so sad. It's so very sad. I just, Watching this documentary, I kept thinking about how ordinary everything looked. There's no flashing lights, no Hollywood buildup, just a lost opportunity to protect this neighborhood from this lady. It made me think about the phrase neighbor, the perfect neighbor. The perfect neighbor was already there. The perfect neighbor were the neighbors that were in that community who chose kindness, who chose to treat each other like the human beings that they were, who chose to look after each other's children and be there for one another. The perfect neighbor was not Suzanne. The film doesn't just tell us what happened, it forces us to confront why it happened. Why do small frustrations become deadly when race is involved? Why does stand your ground law seem to so often protect those who live in fear? Why do we wait for a tragedy to start talking about the things that divide us? The judge who sentenced her to 25 years said it themselves. This didn't seem like fear. This seemed more like anger. As I watched, I kept coming back to AJ's kids. 4 children who have to grow up knowing that their mother was killed over something so senseless. 2 of those children who blamed themselves for the loss of their mother. Their lives forever changed. Since her passing, the children have been under the care of their grandmother. Isaac went under trauma therapy, and efforts have been made to support her son Israel, who was struggling with the events as well. On the anniversary of AJ's death, her family gathered to honor her memory with one of her children reciting a heartfelt poem. The children danced at the memorial, paying tribute to their mother's vibrant spirit. Now, AJ's family has tried to turn their pain into purpose. They created a foundation called the Standing in the Gap Fund to support victims of violence, to push for change. In their way, this is them saying her life still matters and her story isn't over. And that's the thing about tragedy. It can break you or it can become your mission. For AJ's loved ones, it's both. They are grieving and they are fighting because every parent deserves to come home. Every child deserves to feel safe when they're playing outside, and no one's life should end because of hate. AJ Owens should have been here to be able to cheer her kids on at their next game and laugh with her friends and celebrate milestones and watch her children as they graduate and they become productive citizens. Instead, here I am and I'm telling her story. And I hope in doing so, we can help people understand just how precious and fragile life really is. Racism, in my opinion, is a danger to our society. I call this segment It's Getting Real because sometimes we have to sit with uncomfortable truths. And this story is one of them. This is what happens when fear replaces compassion, when assumptions replace understanding, when people stop seeing each other as people and see them as something far worse. This should have never happened. That lady should have been locked up a long time ago. There's a chance to do better. There's a chance to de-escalate. I feel like the cops should have done more. I really, really do. So if you decide to watch The Perfect Neighbor, I want you to remember AJ Owens. Not just how she died, but how she lived. Her laughter, her strength, and her love for her children. Let that be her legacy. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of It's Getting Real. Ooh. Y'all, this one, it's so heartbreaking. And even in telling this, I had way more notes than this. Way more. But I cannot, I just, it's so heavy. It's so heavy that I had to get off camera. It's not right. It's not right that this beautiful young lady is no longer here. All because she wanted to protect her babies. One pow, and she's gone. And the people that remain are forever changed. We gotta do better, you guys. We gotta do better with leading in love. I hate that it came to this. Thank you guys so much for your time. Continue to rest, AJ. Until next time.